Hello guys, I am back from another video and today is about what if Belle was from Terraria. So in the last video we talked about how after, a little scuffle with him and some, not really a scuffle, but after, the whole fight between him and also, the large, Eater of Worlds, they would basically, both him and also, Lily would basically get back home and would just basically celebrate a little bit. So, after a while bit of talking and also talking about that they're going to be fixing the, church, they would decide to go to a little, to the hostess of fertility to basically eat. When he was finishing eating, he would get approached by the Sword Princess, aka Ainz Wallenstein. She would basically request Belle to basically fight her. And during the fight, Belle would obviously win, because, the Zenith and also the Vampire Knives, which basically weakened her, while Belle would gain the powers, not really power, but more like the energy every time when the, Vampire Knives are basically, stabbing into her, but not actually killing her, or anything of that sort. So, after defeating her, which caused everybody to think, yep, he's the brand new, most powerful, adventurer now. Because after defeating Ainz Wallenstein, it's basically an entire, city saying, alright, he's our new god. So, yeah. After that happening, he would basically get back home and see, Hestia and Lily basically getting out all of their things, as Belle would basically tell them to basically go into the tavern, right beside the church that they're currently living in, and so would basically get in to basically, wait until Belle finishes off the brand new, church. So, after a while, basically, fixing it with the help of his, the Babylon style, portal, which he's able to basically get some, building blocks, for example, some simple stone, carved stone, things of that sort. And currently, some people, more specifically some members of, random familias, for example, the Apollo familia, Loki familia, things of that sort, they were obviously watching him. And, the Apollo members are basically, just thinking, I wonder what Apollo will think. And after Apollo hears about this kid, aka Belle, and his, secret ability of his, which allows him to basically get anything out of these portals, well, he was pretty interested in it. And also, currently with the Feistus, Familia members basically spying on him, and after finishing off his, his finished design, and also, showing off his forge, and also the other stuff that he created in, in the absence of, Hestia and also Lily, let's just say, all of them, more specifically, the not Apollo, I meant the Hephaestus Familia were pretty much impressed, mostly because of the forge that he told them, specifically, Hestia and also, Lily, which, after reporting this, Hephaestus herself, Hephaestus was pretty interested in this little, this little forge of his, which he's also quite curious about the armors that he created as well. And also with the Apollo Familia, one of them, specifically Hyacinthus, was pretty pissed off, knowing that Belle is basically stealing the spotlight from him, and so vows to basically destroy him. And so, that is basically what happened last episode. And so, let's talk about what happens next. So, currently with Belle and, Lily. Currently, Belle and Lily are currently in the dungeon. Or more specifically, pretty deep in the dungeon, more specifically the route where Belle basically created the artificial biomes. So, a while of basically going down, down and down towards, to the dungeon, they would arrive at some sort of sort of dead end. Which Lily would say, well, this is a dead end, Belle, so maybe we should just move back. As Belle would say this, Lily, as she would say, why? As, Belle would say this, well, it's obvious that it isn't some sort of dead end. And besides, as he would basically throw a sticky bomb, as both of them would basically get out of the way as it would explode, causing a large cavernous hole to basically appear, which seems to be quite deep. As he would say, why is it a dungeon when there's supposed to be no end to it. He would basically say, as after Lily, sees this, she would say, well, I guess you're right. As she would basically look into the cave, as, Belle would basically give her, a white torch. After, lighting it, she would see a large looking cavernous, area, which in the middle was some sort of like statue, not really a statue, it's more like a building, which resembles, a Roman temple. Like, one of those ones that are from, actually not really Roman, it's more like, Greek than anything else, but yeah, you basically get it. So, after seeing this, she would say, whoa, that looks awesome, she would say, as Belle would say this. Yeah, it seems so. And both of them would basically get out of there and would basically go into the large cavernous, area. After doing this, they would basically, reach towards, reach towards the bottom, as they would start walking towards the big-ass temple made out of stone. And in front of them, or at least in front of the stairs, was some sort of old man. Wait for a second, they would see an old man with a scraggly whitish beard and reddish eyes, with tattered clothes, as you would say, so you came here to free me from my curse. As Belle would recognize him as the old man from Terraria, obviously, as he would say this. Yes, I'm here to free your curse. As after hearing this, Lily would say, wait, curse? I didn't know that there was a curse, and what happened to you, old man? She would basically say with a worried tone, as he would say this. Oh, my child, I have been cursed, and am forever being trapped in this dungeon. So please, I beg of you, free me from my captor, and break this curse. As Belle would accept, as he would say, good. Now, I must warn you, my master is strong, and I promise you, it won't be easy. As his eyes would start to shift into a dark maroonish color, almost to the point that it's almost like blood red, as his body would explode, turning into a large skeleton. Not really skeleton, more like just the arms and the head, as it would scream out like a monster. As Belle would see in the corner, the Skeletron has been awoken. As the health bar would basically appear, as Belle would say this, alright Lily, let's get ready. As she would say, right, as she would basically get ready her, thorn chakram. So, she would basically charge in, as her, worm scarf would basically start to, defend her by using, the large, the large-ass scarf-like ability. It's basically similar to, like, that one girl from that anime. I can't really remember the name, but, there's this one girl that's basically a princess, and, she was called ugly and pretty much, weak, apparently. And apparently her, belt, scarf thing was alive. So yeah, just imagine it just like that. So, it would basically start to, defend her from some of the attacks from Skeletron. As Skeletron would basically start to spin his head like, Sonic the Hedgehog, and basically rushes towards Belle. Belle would basically bring out the, SDMG, as he would start firing it at, at Skeletron. Skeletron would not be, happy about this, as Skeletron would basically start shooting out blasts of, the literal, like, freaking skulls that would basically appear. I mean, they were pretty annoying in game, but now I'm pretty much, used to it. Mostly because I mostly go for more defensive-based items now. Wait for a second. As, Lily would start throwing her Thorn Chakram at one of his hands. As, the hand would basically explode, causing his arm to basically, just rot away, almost like dust. As Skeletron would basically just, like, roar in anger. As Skeletron would get ready to punch, Lily, as Lily would basically be defended by Belle, by using, the kaleidoscope to basically, grab the arm, as he would basically throw it away. As Skeletron would basically growl back at, Belle, as Belle would say this, damn, you certainly are uglier. As he would think in his mind, uglier than the game, actually, he would say, as Belle would say this, alright, let's do this. As he would basically grab his, Tempest Staff, as he would start summoning out tons and tons of Sharknadoes, as the Sharknadoes would open fire. The firing squad of, literal, Sharknadoes would fire off as it would start to slash at the, arm of, Skeletron, as Skeletron would basically try to defend itself, but his last remaining arm would basically disappear, as Skeletron would roar in anger and rage, as it would start barreling towards him with just its face, or skull, or whatever you want to call it, as Bell would say this. Alright, guess I'll just have to use this. As you would basically grab the Zenith, as you would say this, Blade Storm. As the sword would be, or the several swords that basically appeared, would basically start to slash through it. Almost like a tornado of, literal, sharp objects, and destroying the entire, skull entirely. As it would start to reform into the, Zenith once again. As you would say, well, that was easy. As you would see the, treasure bag basically falling from the sky, as Bell would grab it. After grabbing it, he would basically start, look through the items and see a few, not really noteworthy items, and decides to just sell them instead. So, after seeing that the dungeon is cleared, Bell would say, alright, Lily, as Lily would say this, what is it, Bell? As Bell would say this, let's go into the dungeon. As she would say, wait, what? As, after hearing this, Bell would basically grab her by the hand, and they would basically open the door and would basically grab anything of value. So, they would slowly go into the actual dungeon proper, and would basically grab, some, items from pots, and also find a golden chest, which they basically grab all of the items, including a Muramasa. Or at least I think that's the name. Let me just check again. Yep, I was right. It was called the Muramasa. And it's not the red one from that certain mod. I can't remember the name of that mod. But it's the blue one, the original one. So, after grabbing the Muramasa, and also giving it to Lily to basically, give it to, to Hestia to basically sell it off, they would basically start, getting some other stuff, mostly from, chests, which were mostly just like, the same shit all over again, and after a while, they basically run off with all of the loot. So, after, arriving back home and also selling the items to the guild, which, let's just say, the guild was not really surprised after seeing all of the goddamn items that they certainly gotten. At this point, they're basically thinking, yeah, Bell is basically just raising our prices right now. So, currently Aurario is, skyrocketing in, let's just say items because of Bell right now. So, currently with some members of other familias basically watching them, seeing that they have pretty valuable items. Like, seriously, one of them was a freaking sword that literally sliced through everything. And not only that, one of them, specifically a random, familia member, wants to, borrow it for a little bit. Which, after seeing that there's, about a million copies of it, they would think, yeah, why not? He would basically grab one of them, as Bell would not even notice at this point. So, after, selling all of the items, which they got in a lot of ballast from it, they would basically start to leave and gone back home. After, going back home, they would basically have a feast of, mostly random, I'm not going to say the specifics of the food, but let's just say they're pretty good, delicious, food from, from the actual game Terraria. So, after, finishing eating, they would basically fall asleep. The next day comes as everybody's currently, just having a bit of fun, basically having, just doing pretty fine. They're not really having any, problems with, their job as adventurers, but more or less, they're just having a rest day. So, currently, Bell is currently with, Aphysis, as Aphysis was basically looking around his, brand new, built home, which she was pretty impressed seeing seeing the technology that he made with just, the information, which she didn't tell him because, she didn't want to, make Bell a bit suspicious of her. So, after showing her the forge and also the mass-produced, titanium freaking armor, which she was pretty impressed, and also asked if Bell could maybe, make, her some machinery just like this, and Bell would gladly do. And Bell would also show her, his Gate of Babylon style ability, which thankfully she already knows, but more or less still is impressed with it. So after giving her some of the machines, which let's just say some of her familiar members were pretty much having a hard time basically trying to, get them on their cards, which, by the way, basically broke them. I mean, they're basically made out of wood. Well, the machinery that's being used to create, those titanium armors, they're like basically, are heavier than the freaking sun. Not actually made, like, actually heavier than the sun, but it's more like an exaggeration than anything else. So, after, a bit of, like, trying to get, these machinery to a Pfizer's shop, Belle would basically say, alright, I'll just do it. As Belle would basically just, grab the machinery, and would basically start to bring them to the actual shop, or more specifically, the actual, a Pfizer's familiar shop. So, yeah. So, after doing that, they would basically, go back home, and after, a bit of talking with the Pfizer's, and also a bit of, kissing, and also a bit of making out, and also a bit of, like, hand-holding, and things of that sort, they would basically fall asleep. So, another next day. So, currently, Belle is going back on, missions with Lily, going around, Arario, until, Belle runs into somebody that he wasn't expecting. I mean, sort of. So, Belle would basically bump into this, familiar man with, whitish hair and bluish eyes, as he seems to be wearing a simple black, not really black, but more like a darkish gray, jacket with a, white undershirt and a red scarf, as you would say, hello there. It's been a while. The man who saved my, entire life from basically being a servant to Skeletron, he would basically say, as Lee would say this, wait, you're that old man that we saw in the as Belle would basically cover her mouth, as he would say, do not say this in front of everybody, okay? As she would say, oh, right, I mean, hello there, mind telling me your name? As he would say this, just call me, Actually, I don't really have a name for him, and if you have a name for him, then tell me in the comments, because, I really want to call him Bob, but at this point, I'm kind of tired right now, so I'm not going to be calling him Bob, but I want all of you to basically pick a name for, the clother right here. Yeah, that is clother. As you'd say, just call me, the clother for now. As one of them would say this, oh, hello, clother. As he would say this, yeah, and by the way, I'm really thankful for you for defeating Skeletron for me. And I'm currently now doing a business right now. As you'd say, business? As you'd say, yeah, I'm a seller of different types of clothes. As you would basically show off some of the, wares that he has, which are mostly from Terraria, surprisingly, which Belle was really impressed. I mean, it was not really impressive all that much in actual game, but to everybody else, it's like a freaking dream. Because technically, they never seen anything like this before, so they're basically thinking that it's some sort of like royal clothing or something. But in actuality, it's basically just like, normal ass, like simple ass, clothing that you would get in, wait for a second, simple ass clothing that you would probably get in like Terraria for like, 12 silver or something. So, after, a bit of talking with the clother, he would basically say goodbye, as he would basically bring out his cart, and would basically start dragging his clothes, or at least the clothes that he was selling, with him. As Belle would say this, well, he definitely looks pretty fine, as you would say, specifically, Lily, as she'd say, yeah, I'm guessing he's pretty good with, selling stuff. And so, after basically leaving, they would basically go back to the guild. The guild has told everybody, apparently, that they're going to be going on a special, a special type of, mission in the dungeon. Apparently, they had to go to this specific, village in the dungeon that apparently has been recently been, attacked by several different types of monsters. And so, everybody was reported to go there immediately. So, after Belle was told of this, Belle and also Lily would decide to join. Which everybody was thinking, yeah, this is probably going to be a breeze at this point. All of them would start to think because, it's obviously Belle, so it makes sense that he's going to be pretty easy for him. I mean, my version of Belle, at least. So, after Belle, was basically getting ready for this little mission, which, Belle would just basically grab some, like, items from his sack, or the Gate of Babylon style, like portal, which he just basically grabs any type of potion that he needs, like for example iron skin potions, obsidian skin potions, other potions other than skin potions. So after a while, basically grabbing some items, and also Lily trying out some new clothes, which just imagine her wearing like a what is her just imagine her wearing like yeah, just imagine her wearing like a son of the thousand personas clothing. Basically, she's basically wearing similar like clothing to Hassan of a thousand personalities, or personas, or whatever you want to call her. She's basically from not persona. I meant from Fate Grand Order. I meant. So just imagine her wearing like that, and also wearing a similar cloak to Hassan of the Cursed Arm. So she would basically come out and basically shows off her new look, as Belle would say this. Well, you certainly look cute. And she would basically say, thank you, Belle. And by the way, you should probably not say things like that. After all, you do have a girlfriend. As Belle would say this. Well, I just think of you as a sister than anything else. As she would say, you're damn right, you're damn right. She would basically say, under her breath, as Belle would say this. Anyway, let's start to go. And so, both of them would start to leave, and they would say goodbye to Hestia. Currently, nearby, a person has been going around and basically asking if they can find this Belle Cornell person. Because this person seems to be quite, interested in this Belle Cornell person. She seems to have... Wait for a second. The girl seems to have, greenish hair, almost similar to, a certain Izuku Midoriya from another series of mine. Anyway, and also another again, I had to do something that seems to be tied up in a simple ponytail, thanks to the help of some sort of like golden band. She also seems to be, she also seems to have, purplish eyes, and seems to have beautiful white milky skin. She also seems to be wearing some sort of, grayish to blackish, almost like, dark cape basically covering her entire body with a cloak with it. She seems to be walking around Arario, as she seems to be wearing some simple black boots. As after a while of basically going around, she would look towards a little certain church, aka Belle Cornell's, familiar household, or in this case Hestia's, as she would basically knock on the door, as she would say this. Is anybody there? As after seeing that, a few minutes have gone by, she would basically get ready to leave, as she would basically see that the door would open, or at least hear it basically open, as she would look over and see Hestia, as she would say, oh, hello there. Are you perhaps, looking for somebody here? I mean, are you perhaps planning to join my familia or anything? As she would say this. Well, sort of. I want to see if this Belle Cornell person is here. As she would say, oh, Belle is currently on a mission right now in the dungeon, so Ash should say, I see. So, can I please stay here? As she would say, oh, sure. Then, can you please tell me your name? Ash would say, sure. You may call me Vida. Vida the Dryad. She would basically say, as she would say this, sure, Miss Vida. As she would basically walk in, as she would basically close the door right after. So, I'm going to be leaving this episode right off here, and yeah, I'm going to be making this a pretty short episode today, so yeah. So, I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!